Our guest today joins us from right here in Tampa, Florida. She has spent her career across the technology industry from software engineer to tech CEO. But in today's conversation, we're going to take a deep dive into how her career in tech prepared her for her current venture, helping fellow entrepreneurs become thought leaders and promote themselves through authorship. So without further ado, COO of NOW Publishing, Liza Marie Garcia, welcome to the dirt.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on the dirt. Love the name, love the brand.
Thank you very much. So, obviously, welcome, but would love for you to introduce yourself just to the audience and share a little bit more about your current role.
Sure, thank you. Um, Actually, I thought you might have been asking me how did we start Now Publishing, which is kind of a fun idea because not every business is someone's idea and dream and passion and their hope, and then they start a business. I never planned to be part of a publishing group. And it was actually my support of the person that had that dream that started me in Now Publishing. So sometimes I call it that I kind of got the business. I love it. I'm so happy I have it. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm part of a publishing team that from day one, which is about some years ago, we had this concept to help clients build the book from the ground up, which is not something a traditional publisher necessarily does. They usually get a manuscript written. And then also we had the vision from day one as to help promote and publish the book, because we'd say after everyone's friends and family buys your book, no one's buying your book unless someone else is promoting it. So we felt like we've always been a very unique team from the beginning, and I love what we get to do and produce.
Yeah, that's great. And so you've been like a number of different roles, which I'm sure is, a squiggly line, not always a straight line, right? In your career, but from software engineer to tech CEO to now, this publishing business. How'd you get here?
Yeah. It, I didn't think about it until someone asked me a few years back, like, how did you go from tech industry? I mean, I was IBM trained, and my first job out of college was IBM. I programmed platforms, which means I was reading white papers before they were called white papers. I mean, it was all tech, and also tech on the enterprise side. So my clients were Nike, NASA, Coca-Cola. I lived in Beaverton, Oregon when Nike couldn't buy enough office buildings. I mean, it was just very, that enterprise size now to publishing.
Yeah.
And completely different. And the publishing industry itself is very kludgy, which is a word I've been saying forever. And I know that's from tech, but it's completely kludgy, where tech wasn't, it was not. So the thing about it is, when I was in tech, I was professional services firm. In publishing, I'm a professional services firm. It's the same exact industry, except now in publishing, I have a widget to sell. I mean, that's really the difference, is that I have a widget to sell, but it's still professional services. And the clients are then 100% different, because now I'm working with human beings as my clients versus enterprise size, working with PO directors and, purchasing. That's a whole other element of the business as well. But as far as what we do, it's professional services. So I was training for it in all my 18 years of tech.
Yeah, and what made you land in publishing though? Like, why was that the thing that just had you accomplish your mission?
Right. Well, I will tell you that this company and publishing for me is what I know is my passion. So that will tell you that for as old as I am, which we are not going to talk about, but since I've been in publishing for the last 7 years, I now know that this is what I'm on this earth to do, is to be in the publishing industry. So now, saying that, as I said, I didn't really set out to be here, but the way that now I'm going to forget what you asked me as I was telling that story. What was it?
Oh no, just that, basically the journey here. Like, what made you choose the mission of book publishing for entrepreneurs?
Right. Well, so as far as focusing onto the business brand book or the startup or the founder or the entrepreneur's book, we made a very deliberate change in the company in 2019. So we had been in business about 3 years. And I actually got the idea. I believe I was downloaded from God, because I'm a believer, but I got the idea to reformat the company into 4 divisions and be very specific about the niche that we're going to publish to. So we've been doing that about 3 years now. And it's not just the founder or the business brand book, but it's also the nonprofit or not-for-profit brand book. and which is a very different element from a mass marketed book where someone wants to be a New York Times bestseller, completely different. So we definitely pivoted that way. And to credit how I got into publishing, it was really because way back when, 9 years ago, when I relocated from Seattle, I paid a lot of money for a very expensive marketing program that said, go write your brand book. And this is 9 years ago. And they said, if you don't write your book now, you'll be left behind. It's the new business card. It's the way you do X, Y, Z. And I bought into the program. When I buy in 100%. And I was one of like 2 of 30 people that actually did publish the book. And that was my first step in publishing.
Oh, very cool. I see the angel wings behind you, and you mentioned the Christian believer.
Well, yeah. People tell me to stand in front of them. Go ahead.
No, well, I mean, yeah, you are an angel, so that's good. The way that some of those beliefs translate to the way and the mission that you guys are building, do you mind speaking a little bit to that as well?
Thank you for asking. And, there are people that say that they're spiritual, but not religious, or they believe in God, but they don't call him Jesus. I mean, we all have our own, way that we move and we believe. But I'll tell you, it's much easier to be an entrepreneur or a business founder or owner when things are rough if you have faith in something that helps you keep your eyes focused on that to get you through it. I mean, it's very easy. We all know, we've all seen the memes. We've probably created the memes in our company. It's all going to work out. What is it? Every little thing's going to be okay. All of that. And I mean, how many books on resilience and, grit and perseverance. And I used to say, actually, years ago, I'd say, I feel like I'm one of those. In the old time, they had these toys that were like blow up clowns, and you'd punch the clown, you know what I mean? And it'd fall back and it'd come back. Sometimes in the journey, I'd say, I feel like that. I just come back and I just get punched again and all that. That's the story of a business owner and an entrepreneur. That's the story. If you know that story, it shouldn't turn you upside down when it keeps happening. Okay, so first of all, it doesn't turn me upside down. And even if you look at, the times we're in right now, right? The very turbulent times we're in, the very volatile change in the marketplace and in industry and in business in general, in life in general, we're in such volatile times. And I'll tell you, it's, as far as my perspective, it's okay. Be flexible, be nimble, yield to it. Don't try to hang on to anything is really my mantra. Don't try to hang on to anything right now. It's way too volatile right now, right? It's way too rocky, but I only know that really because I went through .com as a business owner. I went through recession as a business owner. I went through 9/11 with a business owner. I've seen the downs and I've seen the ups. I know the valleys. I have to go, to the mountains, you go through the valleys. And sometimes you might theoretically know it, especially as a young entrepreneur startup, you might kind of know about it. Sometimes you really have to live through it to really, really get it and have it just be part of the fabric of who you are. Yeah. So so my faith also is just huge in terms of knowing that it will be okay, and knowing that I am doing the right thing, and knowing that maybe I'm going to see the benefit right around the corner. So it's okay. Don't worry about today. You'll wake up. It will be a whole new day, and it will be okay.
Do you mind just going? This is the dirt, right? So we love hearing stories about, overcoming some of those things that you may have gone through, because it's usually pretty relatable to other founders. Is there a certain story that you have where you really had to rely on your faith and on your spirituality?
I'm going to share the story because it just came up yesterday, and it is, and I think it's probably the most difficult type of obstacle that I've continued to have to go through and continue to have to move past. And it has to do with humans. And it has to do with human beings that betray you. Employees, contractors, business partners, family, best friends, all types, right? And I remember, I can remember, actually, I'll just take it full circle. I remember my very first employee. She was my very first employee in my tech company. And she actually was the very first employee that betrayed me. Now, it doesn't sound like, it wasn't a huge betrayal, but to me, it was a betrayal. And basically what it was is she'd worked for me maybe 3-some years. I trained her from the ground up. She got engaged and she was moving to Montana. Great, fine. I love you. Thank you. Good riddance. Great. I show up, I see her maybe within the year, she's working for my competitor and got the training contract on a big client of mine. And that's the first time I see her after she leaves. Now to me, I'm like devastated. This was the very first one, very first big betrayal. But since then, I probably had 100 of them. You know, and from people you don't even know. Then there's the cyberbullying. I mean, I think the whole thing is you just, you know, so what do you do? Well, first of all, you know, you need to assess why, if it is in fact a real person that you ever knew, because in cyberbullying, that doesn't work. But I think that the main thing is just really put it in perspective to know, first of all, just forget about it. Don't gel on it. Don't go back. Don't engage in it.
Yep.
That's them. That's their thing. And I believe God will handle that. And he says he will handle it. And then, you know, don't go back there. And also, you know, don't let it throw you so much. I think in my stage of my professional career, in my, you know, time now and experience, I think that's the main thing that I find peace in. I don't gel in those places, you know, and yes, it's more than just looking back, but you can say, I don't look in the rearview mirror, but if you stay there, you still think about it, you still put any energy towards it other than, okay, that was a bad thing, move on. It's just so counter to everything you need to do. You know, I mean, I know I only have so much energy in a day, you know, intellectually, emotionally, and all that. And you know that. Don't let that get drained by that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a pretty great life lesson and professional lesson to wrap your arms around.
It is. And it affects not just you, but your team and people around them and your family, and you don't even know it's happening when you let that stuff just get to you and eat you, right? So that's really good stuff right there. Let's hop over to the what you do, because I love thought leadership, and big thing that we do at Orchid Black and that we encourage founders just, you know, in general to do is think about how they can be more of a thought leader, right? And put together a strategy around it. And you've got a really great platform with Now Publishing that can allow entrepreneurs to spread that to the world. And so I just love to hear from you, the expert around it. You know, what are the main benefits to publishing a book?
Well, first of all, you know, the benefit is defined by what is the reader going to benefit by the book, and then also the benefit of what is the author, how is the author going to benefit by writing, and there's two different sets of great benefits on both ends.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone just a couple, maybe 2 days ago, that was saying that sometimes C-level professionals have a problem, have an issue with being too revealing. You know, they want to represent the corporation, you know, all of that. And, you know, there's such a benefit, first of all, to telling your story. And it isn't just a catchphrase that everyone has a story. Yes, everyone has a story. We're all unique individuals that are going through this journey on earth, and we experience different things and all of that. So we all have a story. The benefit, I think, is that, you know, as humans, you know, we're really made to be social beings, to communicate, to get love, to give love, to have friendships, to you know, the parental part of the whole situation, to have approval from your parents. I mean, there's so many, you know, characteristics where we're looking for someone else to know who we are.
Yeah.
That it's a huge benefit for everyone, not just founders and business owners and that. So that's, you know, a great benefit on the maybe personal side of it. But the primary benefit that we try to help with our clients, and, you know, we are for profit. So, you know, we're asking our clients, you know, for a certain amount of money so then we can help them promote their brand and their story. The real benefit is that this is not only the age of content, which we all know, it's obvious, but it's also the age that we've all found our voice. And I posed this question even for the first time this last week of, you know, how are we going to feel after we get past this age of our voice 10 years from now if we didn't add to our own voice in some way?
Yeah.
You know, writing a book is the best delivery of the content of the voice in all the formats, in audio, in ebook, in paperback and such. But it really is, you know, we found as a society, good or bad, our voice, make it good, make it positive, share your story, share your passion, share why you feel you're here. So I think it's a huge thing. I love this industry, as you can tell.
Yeah, I can. It comes out in spades.
Good.
So, the benefits are awesome, and opportunistic. What about some of the challenges that you see entrepreneurs run into when they know they want to write it? They might even have a strategy, right? But they don't know how to get it done. Like, I've known, just for example, I've known a few entrepreneurs that tried to do it themselves, right? And then they just stopped, right?
Right.
What are some other challenges that you see them run into?
Well, it definitely takes a lot of work to write a book and publish it. And if you talk to an author that's done it, whether they've self-published or traditionally published or hybrid, whatever, they will tell you, oh, absolutely. And it is, what is it? Every 5 minutes, there's a new book uploaded to Amazon. And there's also these digital marketing campaigns that drive me crazy where like, I wrote a bestseller and all the pages are blank and I hate all that, but that's out there. There's so much, like I said, kludgy, there's so much out there, especially with now publishing or with self-publishing, that people have very wrong perceptions. But it is a process where, you take the first step and you download the content. But then that's just the first step. And that's a pretty big step, but you're only the first step in of maybe like 10 significant steps. So what we do is, because of my background in tech, I was PMP before it was PMP, and that where we project manage the client through the process. So we have author check-ins, accountability, right? We have critical path milestones, that they have to make, or we will delay the book launch and that. It is this trying to put your arms around a big mountain and kind of see it happening. We really, our job is to take the client and get them from the start to the finish line. And not only that, we actually, in our contracts, we make both the client sign up that they'll publish within a certain time frame, and then we sign in our contract that we'll publish within a year. So there are companies and people I've talked to that said, I've been working on publishing for years and years. We are not in that business. We are in the business to work with you and help you from the ground zero, from ground up to publish. Because if you've never published a book before, you have zero idea of how to do it. So, just like anything, you hire an expert. But I'll tell you where the real gold is. I mean, there's a lot of gold through the process, but the real gold is very skilled editors that / writers, because editing is a different skill set than being a writer. And when you get the marriage of those two skill sets and the right person, that's the gold. And they don't grow on trees. As far as resources and companies, that's really the gold. And a lot of our clients will say, wow, that meeting with the editor that we had with Now Publishing, that really got me on the right track. Or they'll say, yeah, this book had a vision. I had a vision of this book, but it turned out completely different, again, because of the editorial contributions in the team.
Yeah.
So it's a process, when it's done right.
What's a really good example that you can share that's, an entrepreneur or founder that they were unsure of if this type of process would work for them, or if they were the right person to write a book, or whatever it is, like the genesis of someone that you saw on the other side of it, having a book published just helped so much.
So are you asking me the positive story or not such a good fit story? Because I've had them all.
I mean, I asked the positive, but now you got to share both.
Now I got the not so fit. Right, it's funny. Well, let me talk. I'll start with the not such a great fit story. And we probably all heard the word ghostwriters, right? Ghostwriters.
Yep.
So when I first got in this industry, I said, we will never be a ghostwriter. I will not hire ghostwriters. Ghostwriting is not our thing. And the reason I said that was I had some experience with some ghostwriters before I got into the industry, and I would hear that their books sounded the same. Like I heard 3 books from one ghostwriter, and she read excerpts, and I was like, those are like exactly the same 3 books because it was in her voice. Mm-hmm. So that bothered me. And then I also knew that ghostwriters will sometimes take a weekend and work with a client, and they've done the whole book in the weekend. And again, I feel like that's not the client and the client's voice. And that was my main issue. My issue was I couldn't be authentic and promote Jim, saying Jim is this amazing writer and wrote this amazing book in his content when I knew it was the ghostwriter's content or the ghostwriter's writing, right? So we still don't do that. We do content editing. So we definitely help. Our writers need to help our authors and our books be better, but we have to be authentic. So the problem would be where it wasn't a great fit is we'd hire a client that had a very big job, had a very big life, and that's great. We can manage it. And they would still, and they would depend on us to do it, but they wouldn't engage or do their part or be part of the team. And I say that from our very first meeting with the client. We cannot do it without you. We cannot do it. It is 100% a team. And you start seeing the resistance, but you give them the benefit of the doubt. You start seeing some things not, I would have them when the client would say, oh, I don't want to look at it at this stage. We give about 5 different stages for the clients to look at it after first draft, which is kind of atypical. And, I would see where I'd learn from it, where I shouldn't have let them skip that stage or skip that process, but I would, and it would never get us to the right place. So yeah, definitely, it's got to be the right fit. And I think that's in any company, right? You hear about firing clients or hiring clients, there's a reason, because not every client fits into your company and you shouldn't fight it. And I also love the idea that, you don't keep a client on just because of the money. That's not the right fit. That's the only reason you're keeping them on, and then on the positive side, I've had it's an honor, and I've said this word when I've been at book launches or book events for our clients. It's an honor that I got to be a part of their life for a while, or got to promote their life and what they've done, because we've got, there's some pretty amazing people, period, in this world. But when you get to see them bring their story forward and be vulnerable and really share with the world their wisdom and their gifts, it's a pretty amazing thing, so there's the great, and then there's the not so great.
So give me an example of the great, though, like one of those entrepreneurs that just, on the other side of it had this amazing book, this amazing content that they were so proud of.
Well, I'm looking at a book. Well, I'm looking at my books right here and thinking about my clients. There's a guy, there's an NFL player of a book that we did for him a few years back. And he was a NFL superstar rookie that his first year he got to play in the Super Bowl, and they lost, but he got to play on the Super Bowl. I think he has 3 Super Bowl rings. But his story opens with him finishing that game at Super Bowl, walking across the street to his hotel room and trying to commit suicide. And the guy had a tumultuous life, to say the least, and came out on the other side. So we wrote his whole book, and we did it in a rush, but it's an amazing story. Came out on the other side, and this guy now lives only to help people not go through what he goes through. That's his entire life. He got a job doing this as an ambassador that he gets paid to do. Just crazy great.
Yeah.
Crazy great. So that's a good story.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, obviously some challenges early on in the story, but a really good story on the outcome side. So very cool. As you think about the future of publishing and of thought leadership in general, any trends that you're noticing? I know you mentioned a book on Amazon every 5 minutes, but any other trends that you're noticing as we kind of head into the next generation of publishing?
Great question. So first of all, the biggest trend, obvious to a lot of people now, is audiobooks, such the trend. There's also a new trend that I want to get a client for us to do this. It's a trend it's a book called Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Now it's about, we might have my leadership book, but then there's a Cliff Notes version because we all don't have time to read the whole book. Yeah. I actually kind of like that. I mean, I've actually, read Cliff Notes and been looking at them. That's a big trend. So definitely, and there's a big trend at more companies like us, honestly, that say, look, it is more than the book. You got to promote it. And then when you start talking about promoting the book or the widget, as I talked about before, are you doing book blog tours? Are you doing virtual tours? In person, great, but the, virtual tours, And then, of course, all of digital marketing into the promoting of the book in every way that you can, and that. So, we're always there. We never. I was just telling a client, I'm going to tell the client these are some promotional items we're going to do, but we're probably going to we're definitely going to do different ones. We're going to do whatever, is trending, is moving. I mean, it is not a constant in digital marketing. And then the other thing we're doing that's kind of fun is we've been saying it's more than the book. And when we would say that, we'd say you need we just say, QR, of course, everyone needs QR, but you need bit.lys at the end of the chapter. You need this, you need that. We're actually building a book where we have at the end of every chapter, it's an author contributor. We're going to have their link to go to the YouTube where they talk about the chapter you just read. So I kind of thought that was kind of a fun idea that we had. But I said all that to say we have an author. I was just talking to someone this morning about that we are publishing their book in a box. They're publishing a journal and a 6x9 business book and a card set. And they're doing a pen. I'm not buying a pen. They'll buy the pens in a trademark box that looks like the book. And then you even open it and it's got the trade. I'm like, that's very cool. I like that. Cool. So yeah, so for our end, we got to be different. We've got to be unique. We've got to make people take a second look because we got bookstores and Amazon and everyone else that's our competition, and just be different and be unique.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, listeners know that at this part, as we kind of close out the show, we do a series of 5 rapid fire questions. We call it the Founder 5. In a bit more fast of a manner to try to highlight some things that you're seeing and to get to know you a little better. So first off, the number 1 metric or KPI that you're relentlessly focused on.
Client communication, client interaction, client communication, really. Yeah.
It's everything. Number 2, the top tip that you have for founders that are in their growth stage of growing a company.
Oh gosh. I say your issue is so much around you, too many shiny balls in the air. So, decide if your number's 3. My number used to be 5. It's about 4 now. And what I'm saying is if you have to, you take your quiet time in the morning. You say, these are the 4 things I'm going to concentrate on and no one's going to distract me a day. I think it's the time blocking. You're in such a growth crazy mode and you can't stop the fires that come to you. Am I talking too much on the rapid fire? Sorry.
Oh, you're good. No, you're great.
Okay. But honestly, I mean, I think that's the best thing I learned years ago was put it in front of you. Say, look, I'm only dealing with these 3 things because I know I need to do that to get us where we need to go. And so you don't get distracted in that.
Focus. That's great. A favorite book or podcast that's helped you grow?
You know what? I have to say, I love the N Factor. I started to hear it and I was on it, which let me engage. Actually, we became the publisher for Dr. White, who does the N Factor. But I have been always fascinated with learning about business owner stories, right? And I always say also that we know who we are in general when we're in high school. Right. And if you kind of lose your way, go back to say, what did you love doing then? And I used to read Lee Iacocca's biography in high school. I even did Trump's. I've just been fascinated. So that her N Factor, I get to read about the Barefoot Winery or hear about the Barefoot Winery people and all that. I just love listening to other people's success stories.
Cool. So Rebecca White, N Factor.
Perfect. Yes, N Factor. Yep.
All right. What actress or actor would play you in a movie?
Of course, J-Lo. Hello. I knew that'd be funny. I tell my daughters, don't I look like her? They're like, are you kidding me, Mom? But yeah.
No, that's great. There's definitely some similarities. All right. Lastly, what is going to be the title of your autobiography?
Well, so I'm actually writing now my 4th book. This was my first brand book, kind of an autobiography of me in tech days. Starbucks was one of my clients. So it does have autobiography type stories. And then I wrote 2 others, I'm writing one now, but with other authors. So I would say, what I want to be known for now, I want to be known for love and I want to be known for sharing wisdom. So maybe wisdom and love.
Wisdom and
love. Sappy,
yeah.
But it's Friday.
Sappy, but true. I love it. Okay. Very cool. And then what was that one that you just pulled up? What was the name of that just so we can get it in the show notes?
So yeah, so this was the book that got me into publishing. As I said, when they said to write a book, it's called Never Drink Coffee During a Business Meeting,
Yeah.
insider advice from a top female CEO. So when I joined this, I said, I bought into this marketing company. I said, are you kidding me? Write a book? What on earth would I write about? So basically this book is all those things I could not put in my employee manual. So it's like learn to golf. I mean, I could technically put that in there, but IBM said learn to golf. I love to golf. I don't do it enough, but I do love it. You know, cover up a tattoo, maybe be the first one to stand up when someone needs a copy or coffee. It was just those things that I would train my engineers and my trainers in my company to do, but it wasn't necessarily in the employee manual. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's good stuff. All right. So never drink coffee during a business meeting.
Yep.
Love it.
It's available.
All right. You've given so much to our listeners today, Liza. Anything that our listeners can do to help you out?
For sure. We'll go to publishwithnow.com is our website.
Okay.
We publish all genres of books. You name it, we probably published it, other than maybe like romance fiction. But yeah, our hashtag is Now Publishing. And if you want to learn what it would take for us to publish your brand book, please just reach out, publishwithnow.com.
All right. Is that the best way to reach you is through the website? Okay, perfect. We'll get that in the show notes then.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Liza Marie. This has been just spectacular. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Take care.